Alice O'Neill.
Mother, there is but one and only one, whose love will fail you never. One who lives from sun to sun, with constant fond endeavor. There is but one and only one, on earth there is no other. In heaven, a noble work was done, when God gave us a mother.
Good, nice.
Okay. Mom, we want to talk about your life,
Yeah.
and we want to talk about your early childhood first. Can you tell us a little bit about your father and mother, and we'll start with your mother first, what her name is, and tell us a little bit about her.
All I know is her maiden name was Mary Lally. She married my father, Michael Walsh. They weren't too long married when he passed away with pneumonia. So from there on, then she was on her own again. And she wanted to come back out here. And my grandmother didn't want her to. She wanted her to stay home. So anyway, she go back. Yeah, she went back home and married my father, I think. And they were married about 4 or 5 years when he passed away with pneumonia. So my mother was on her own again. So she had to just do the best she can until my uncle made this match for her to marry this guy. And he'd help her with with the work and all like that, with the farm. And so she didn't have much of a choice. So she had to go along with what they said. But if she had her will, she'd come back out here again, and instead of staying home.
Okay.
I think that's all.
Okay. And when she came to America, can you tell us about why she came here and where she lived?
Well, I know she came when she came here the first time, or after she got married.
First time.
When she came to her sister, Catherine, and she stayed with her for about a couple of years. And then my grandmother wanted her home again. So, of course, my mother was easygoing, She wasn't like any of the rest of them. So anyway, she went back home and was with my grandmother. I don't know if she was married then, if she married my father or not. No, she couldn't marry then. And when she met my father, then they got married. And they had 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, when my father died. So my mother was on her own again. So she wanted to come back out here to Aunt Catherine, and be with the people. And my grandmother didn't want her to. She wanted her to stay home. That she'd be with my grandmother, because my grandmother said she didn't have no daughter home. And she wanted her home. So she went home. And let's see.
Okay, what about your mom? What did she teach you when you were a young child?
Well, she didn't teach me anything any more than they showed us. They showed us how to, mess with the potatoes, do the farm work, the little gardening for around the house. Like a few potatoes and a few cabbage and different things to use around the house, not out in the farm.
She teach you how to crochet or to sew?
Yep.
How to cook?
Yes, she could teach me how to knit, sew, bake, and cook.
So your mother was very dear to you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tell us what you thought about her.
I thought she was one of the best people and kindest people in the world. I loved my mother.
Can you tell us about your original father? You didn't know him very well?
No. I was only, Paddy was only 4. I was about 3 years when he died. I wouldn't remember much about my father. Only I wish today that I know him more. I kind of always regret not knowing him. Like, because I heard about him that he was such a nice man, kind man. And for that reason I wanted to know him better, but I didn't.
And his name was
Michael Walsh.
Michael Walsh.
Yeah.
And you don't remember what he died from?
Pneumonia. He was out in the field working and he got wet and didn't pay any attention to it. Then he came home and he got a cold. And he got pneumonia from a cold because he didn't take care of it.
And then your mother married another man.
Yeah.
And what was his name?
Michael Dermody.
Can you tell us about him?
Well, I didn't know much about him because I didn't like him.
You didn't like him. What didn't you like about him?
Well, he wasn't nice to me. See, I was a stepdaughter. And he wasn't too nice, but he couldn't do anything because my brother took full charge over me that nobody was supposed to touch me.
Let's talk about your brother for a minute. Mike
Mike.
was your oldest brother?
Yeah.
Tell us about him.
Well, he took full. Of course, when my father died, who died? My father. My mother told her son, that was Mike, to look out for me. Because I was the only girl and the 2 boys. And she asked him to look out for me. So he did very, very good.
Tell us a little bit about Mike.
Well, he was my brother, my kind and loving brother. He never overlooked me or did anything that he shouldn't do. So that's all I know about him.
And he was older than you.
And then when he was coming out here, he wanted to come out. I wanted to come out with him, but they told me I couldn't. I'd have to wait for a ticket. And in fact, at the time it was, I may never get a ticket. So he said, you better go when you're called, or you mightn't go at all. So there was no choice there.
Tell us about your childhood when you were young, like 10 years old, 11 to 15. What did you and your brother do, you and your brother Mike?
Well, we went to school together. We took care of the cattle, together. We drive them up to the mountains and bring them home, put them in the barn, and whatever was to be done with them.
School, what happened in your school? Tell us about the building first.
The building was a small 1-story, 2 rooms. There was they had a room where the different subjects, you would go from one room to another. And there were 2 rooms. Then we played at lunch, then we get an hour for our lunch. Then we played with all the kids, and we played tag, or we played games, different games, go around. We'd make a chain and go around, dance this way, then come back again and dance the other way. So that's what we did for the hour anyway, I think that's all.
Okay. Did they talk Gaelic or Irish in the school system?
No.
What did they talk?
English, they had to. They were ruled by England. So they had to talk English. They wasn't allowed to teach Gaelic or to use it in school.
Could you talk Gaelic?
Yeah, my stepfather could only talk Gaelic.
about your mother? She talked to
She
you?
could talk both.
And in the schools, they taught just, you could only speak English then.
That's you're right.
And how about the religion? What kind of religion did they teach in the schools?
Well, I think they had a half an hour, and the other half an hour for lunch, then a half an hour for religion. And whatever you wanted to be, if you wanted to be a Catholic, or if you wanted to be something else, like, you know.
When you could, there were some Catholics in the school and some
Yeah.
Protestants in the school?
Yeah.
And what was like, how many children were in the school?
Or maybe about 75, 50 or 75.
And were some Catholic? How many were Catholic?
Mostly the majority.
And were they allowed to teach Catholic in the school at that time?
No.
Why not?
Well, England, they were overruled by England,
England?
and England wouldn't allow it to be taught in school. They didn't want no Gaelic, see, they wanted to rule over Ireland. And they started with the religion.
So the English wanted, the English or the British wanted English speaking
Yeah,
and outlaw the Gaelic,
yeah,
and religion the same thing?
yeah.
What religion did they want to teach?
They wanted none,
No religion.
no religion.